Bonjour Kitty.
Bonjour.
Start on the side for a second.
Okay. Alright, straight ahead please. Hello Kitty. Get in front of you please. Okay, just coming back again. Katie, right to the centre.
Just here, Katie, to the right again.
And just back again.
Straight.
Katie, could you say hello to the caring camera, please?
Okay. Katie, this way. Thank you. Katie, right to the centre.
Should we pass
Katie, just right back to you. Miss Holmes, straight ahead please. Katie, right to the centre please. Thank you. One more left, Katie.
Katie, back to the centre.
All the way to your far left for a second.
Katie, right here. Yeah, one more. Katie, one more. Right.
Get to the...
One more to the right.
Yeah, just here for us, please. Yeah.
Okay, sorry, look at me. Thank you. Now,
To your right, please.
this way, please.
To your right.
Nice smile. This way, look at me, please. Miss Holmes, right here. Let's smile. This way, look at me. Your right. Katie, right center, please. To your right,
To your right, please. To your right, please.
Katie, just.
To your right.
Just here facing you,
To
please.
your right, please.
This arm.
This way.
To your right, please.
Back to the center, please.
Thank you so much, Katie.
Thank you.
Take position, guys.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Caring's Women in Motion Talks. I'm Elizabeth Wagmeister, Chief Correspondent at Variety, and up next, we are so excited to sit down and talk to actor, writer, and director Katie Holmes. Last month, Katie released her third directorial effort, the film Rare Objects. She has also been in the off-Broadway show, The Wanderers, and just this morning, Katie announced an exciting new partnership where she will be mentoring female filmmakers around the world. Without further ado, let's get ready for our conversation with Katie Holmes.
Hello. Hello. You made it. I made it.
Like 30 seconds. Please.
Wow.
Katie, look down, Katie. Look down.
Katie, just here facing you, please.
Thank you.
Katie, Katie, look down, please. Katie, look down. Katie, look down, please.
Katie, this way, please. Katie, just above him. Katie, just here. Just here facing you. Just here facing you, please.
them on silent. Highly appreciate.
Katie, look down, please.
Thank you so much. Katie, back to your left.
Katie.
Just here, please, Katie, facing you. Just here.
Katie, look down, please.
Thank you.
Katie, look down. Last one, please.
Thank you for the
Katie, last one.
Let's
Last one, look down. Katie.
stop.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you so much.
Katie, last one, please. With a big smile, your famous smile. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Oh, like this. I like it.
This makes me hot.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I told you they talked there, right?
Katie, who are you wearing?
Vanessa Getty. Getty.
Thank you.
Okay.
Getty.
I move. Thank you.
Yeah.
Pretty sure.
All right. Everybody is very excited to hear from you today.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
So, first of all, welcome
Thank
to the Cannes
you.
Film Festival.
Thank you so much. What a nice welcome. This is incredible.
It's incredible. I can take no credit for it, but the setting is so beautiful. Now, just earlier today, you announced an exciting new partnership where you are going to be mentoring female filmmakers in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Can you tell me how this partnership came about and what the work is that you'll be doing?
Yes, well, it's very new right now. It just came about, and I'm very excited because I'm going to have the opportunity to work with some women in Saudi Arabia and help them craft different projects and see them to fruition, and hopefully get them into help them try to get them into a festival. And I'm excited to hear their stories, what they want to express and make a film about. So, yeah.
Now, why is it important for you to work with women from all over the world and really help them achieve their aspirations?
Well, I think it's always exciting for me personally to get to know women from all over. I learned so much, and particularly with these women, I think it's very exciting that there's more opportunities for them and to be a part of an opening, if you will, of their ability to create and to help to get their expressions out into the world on an international level. I think will be very rewarding, and I'm very excited.
It's pretty incredible because you've had such an interesting career with many different parts of it. You've gone from actor to, you've been on stage, you've been on television, you've been on film, now of course writer and director. And I'm sure that wasn't easy to make your way behind the camera. So can you tell me about that process first? What inspired you to want to step behind the camera?
Well, I mean, I've been very fortunate to work with a lot of wonderful directors very early on in my career. And obviously I had a lot of wonderful experiences and a lot of support. And I got to a stage, and a friend of mine said, you should start directing. And it never really occurred to me. And I thought, okay, maybe I'll try. So I started small, and I did a 30 for 30 on Nadia Comaneci, and I really liked that process. And so then I tried my first film, and I had support around me. I had a great team, and I learned so much, particularly, like, my comfort zone is obviously working with actors, but what was a real learning curve for me was the visual and how to tell a story visually, and what you don't need in terms of dialogue if you're going to see something instead. And that was actually very freeing to be able to depict things in that way. And I love visual art. And so that's really fun. And then just the editing process is a whole other thing, because then you're putting the puzzle together, and there are many different ways to put the puzzle together. And so that's that's always a challenge. To me, it's like ballet class. You got it on Monday, and on Tuesday your foot doesn't work.
Right.
So you have to figure it out again, but you will. You know, it's just a process every single time.
How do you think that your career, first as an actor, has helped you becoming a director?
Well, definitely being on set, first of all, for so long. Being on set to me is a second home. I know what everybody, you know, it's I feel very comfortable there. And so knowing that when you go in is like, okay, I know this, you know, this department, uh-oh, they're upset over here. You know, just, you know the dynamics. And then I think, you know, working with actors, having, you know, being an actor, there's also, I know what they're feeling. I think I know what they're feeling. And I hope that they feel more comfortable because they know I'm them. I'm one of you know, we're all together. And I feel like, yeah, there's a comfort zone there.
Well, I wanted to ask, particularly working with female actors on set, being that you started fairly young in this business and you've had a lot of experience, how do you think that your time as a young actor now inspires the way that you mentor and lead on set?
Well, I feel like there's just, I think for me, I don't know, for example, like one of the things that I love about, I've always loved about playing characters and directing is the wardrobe, the costumes. Because that, again, it's a visual thing that can tell so much about a character, then you don't have to do so much work, you know? It's like, that shirt says it all. Or it gives you something to play with. So I think like with young actresses, for me it's just really listening and asking them, what are your thoughts? What are your ideas? What do you think? And really collaborating. Like, do you think this is right? This piece of dialogue, or you don't? Why don't you? And let's work on it together. So it's a collaboration, and they get used to that. So it's not pleasing me or getting the scene right. There's no right way to get a scene. It's going to be how they do it. And I feel like trying to really teach them that it's okay, there's no mistakes, and just be free. That's really important to me, because I feel like there's sometimes just this, I think it's because of the audition process, you know, I want to be picked, I want to be good, and then you enter into the set with that, and you're already good. It's not what you did, it's who you are.
Right.
And so we're starting there. So it's really just kind of getting all of the fears out of the way is important to me.
Right. Did any of your experiences when you were starting out inform the way that you lead? Like how right now you're talking about it's a collaboration and I don't want there to be any fear. Was that your experience when you were coming up, or did you have experiences where you didn't feel like it was as collaborative and supportive?
I really felt I felt like I had a lot of really collaborative experiences that impacted me and really empowered me and gave me confidence. Also, I had the experience of doing 6 years of a television show, and that really does free you, because there are days that you're just too tired but you still are doing it. You're working that muscle and you're trying things, right? And so I think that experience mixed with, like, I remember one of my favorite experiences was working with Curtis Hanson, and I entered that experience really nervous, and it was amazing actors in it, and I just wanted to do a good job. And he really empowered me and gave me a lot of confidence and listened and made me feel so comfortable. So I felt like, wow, someone like him did that. So that's really important to give to people.
Now, obviously, we've seen so much progress in the past 5 years, 10 years with women stepping behind the camera and women being empowered to be put into leadership positions, whether it's in the executive ranks, whether it's as a filmmaker. But in the 90s, when you entered this industry, that certainly was not the norm. Did you ever, in your early days, did you work with women or with female directors in a position of power?
No, I really didn't. I mean, there was I think 1 or 2 directors on Dawson's Creek that were women, but that was not the norm.
And being that you are now a female director, being able to set this example and show other women that they can do it, what do you think the benefits are of having women step into the role of a director?
I mean, I think that people that are passionate about what they do and the stories that they want to tell, those are the people that you want telling the stories. And I think that that's important to give those opportunities to people that deserve it and are working hard. Yeah.
When we spoke a bit about how you started to step behind the camera, but when you were beginning to say, I want to now create and go behind the camera and write and direct, was that challenging for you? Not in the ways that it's challenging as it is, because it's a hard job, but being that statistically not many women are doing it. And also, we spoke about the benefits of you being an actor, becoming a director, but do you feel like people perhaps underestimated you, saying that she's an actor, so she's not a director?
I didn't really worry about that. I mean, because I think having been on set for so long, I knew the job at hand. So it was more, can I handle that? Because you are in charge of, there's different, the 3 different phases of film, of making a film, which is the pre-production, the production, and then the editing. And when you're making it and when you're shooting it, that's a long day, and you are watching the actors, you're setting up the shots, you're looking at the set, you're already deciding about music. I mean, there's a lot going on every day, and so there's that, which is more of like an adrenaline-based experience. I feel like I wasn't worried about, can I, just because I'm an actor or whatever. I did lean on, actually, a lot of my friends, a lot of women, a lot of men, to read the script, and I asked a lot of questions. And I have to say, the community of filmmakers in LA and New York is very welcoming, and I don't really care if, yes, I know my script isn't going to be perfect. So I'm not I mean, of course, when you get the call and it's like, well, I think you got to work on this part, it's like, oh, I thought it was right. But after you sort of lick your wounds a little bit, then you get another idea. And so I feel like I really depend on others to help me. So to answer your question, it's like, yes, there's always fear going into something, but it's like, where are the strengths, and where they are there. So it's just like, okay, what am I really afraid about? Okay, I'm afraid about that scene. Okay, so let's look at that, and let's get past that. So that's kind of how I approach it.
Who are some female filmmakers in the business that you've really either looked to and admired their work, or that maybe have firsthand given you advice?
Well, I mean, I remember Jodie Foster, Little Man Tate, when I was growing up, she directed that, and that was one of the first times I saw a female filmmaker, and I had admired her as an actress, and I was like, oh wow, that's incredible. Sarah Polley and I worked together on Go when we were babies, and I loved how she made her way into becoming a filmmaker, and I love her films, and so she, you know, she's very encouraging. We're friends, and inspiring. So it's, yeah, it's, I'd say those two women have really impacted. Yeah.
What do you think is the biggest change? And this might be too big of a question to say one thing, but what is the biggest change that you've witnessed for women in the industry since the time that you've started out?
I think that there's many lanes you can now go into as a creative person, and they're open, and I think that that's really exciting. And I have, you know, you can try a lot of different things now. You don't have to just be an actor, and you don't have to just be a film actor. You can, you know, you can do so many different things, and it's really rewarded. So I would say that's a big change, and obviously there's more female filmmakers, and that's obviously a huge change, and it's really exciting. Yeah, more points of view, better.
So speaking of being able to channel your creativity into different lanes, you know, you spoke about you could be an actor on a film, you could be in any medium. You juggle a lot of roles on all of your projects. Your past two films that you've directed, you've also written, and you've been in them. Is that challenging to wear so many different hats on a project?
It is, yeah, it is. It's also a little bit, in some ways it's easier because you're the one doing it, so if there needs to be changes, then you're going to make them, so you don't have to wait on someone. But I also feel like it's so much fun to collaborate. So you know, I feel like I'm going to direct a film that I'm just going to direct, and that will be really fun, and I think probably will feel in some ways easier because I did it a different way before.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there anything you can share about that project?
Not yet. No, we're still figuring it out, and you know, everything's a little bit on pause because of this strike. So, which is an important strike.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. What are your thoughts on the writer's strike?
Well, obviously, I'm for the writers.
Yeah. You are a writer.
Yeah, and yeah, we need storytellers.
Now, I was going to ask you if you would ever direct something that you weren't in, but you just answered my question. But it seems right now you are very focused on directing. Are you still interested in always continuing to act?
Yeah, I love performing. I just did a play for 3 months, and that was so wonderful to be on stage every night, and it really gets you into shape. And so that's I love it. That's my love. And so I always want to be an actress. I want to be doing it when I'm 70.
What sort of roles, if you're not writing for yourself, what sort of roles are interesting to you right now that you might want to pursue?
Yes, I feel like, well, I would love to do a comedy, actually. I think that people need to laugh right now. Also, I love musicals. I can't really sing that well, though. So that maybe I would direct a musical. And I just to say complicated characters is kind of silly because we are all complicated. So how about just real women stories? And I like stories with hope, healing, that kind of a thing. Yeah.
Right now, are people, because you are so known now as a director, are people reaching out to you with roles that they, as an actor, that they want you to be attached to something, or are you still hustling? Because this is an industry where you're kind of always fighting for yourself and always advocating for yourself, and you hear of Oscar winners who are still auditioning, and that's part of the process. So I'm curious how roles are coming to you.
Yeah, I mean, it is always a hustle. I mean, and it's always, and that's, I think, what's exciting about this business, because there's always new directors too that are doing something innovative, and then you want to work with that person. And so, yeah, it's kind of a process of, there are definitely things coming, which I'm very grateful for, and then there's things that you're like reaching for. Yeah.
You've been doing a lot of work in the indie space, but you've done a wide range of work throughout your career. You did Batman Begins, which is obviously the biggest scale of a studio film you can do. Are you interested in returning to the big studio space, either as an actor or a director?
I mean, sure. Yeah, I mean, that was a wonderful experience. I loved working with Chris Nolan. And that was such a huge learning experience. Just the scope of it, the sets, the cinematography, everything was quite amazing. Yeah.
That film was really credited as bringing these comic book superhero films. They were seen as art at that point.
Yeah.
And now, obviously, there's a lot of discussion about the state of the business and are studios taking enough chances on new ideas. The films that are performing well at the box office in this age of streaming are franchise films and superhero films. What are your thoughts on the state of the industry right now?
Well, I mean, yeah, those are doing big business. So I'm sure that more will continue to be made. I mean, that is the nature of the business. I feel like there's always going to be room for new ideas, and they will take risks, and there's always going to be something coming along down the pike. So I look forward to that. Yeah. I don't know of anything right now,
but you would be game to return to that world.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for sure.
Now, it sounds like you had a really wonderful experience on Dawson's Creek, being your first entry into the business, and it was huge. I mean, nobody could have.
Well, I actually did the Ice Storm before I did Dawson's Creek.
Right.
Yeah, but anyway.
Yes, no, you're correct. Yes. And then Dawson's Creek blew up and became this huge sensation. People still talk about it. I have to ask, because if not, I think that viewers will be upset. Have you ever?
Is this going to be like, should she have picked Dawson or
Pacey? No, not that. Okay. Don't worry, I'm not going there. I was going to ask, in this age of reboots and reunions, has there ever been a real discussion about returning to the show? There have
been many discussions over the years. And you know, we all loved the experience, and so there's a protection that comes along with the discussion. And it was, in many ways, the show was a time capsule. And so to put it into today's world might tarnish it a bit. I mean, it was right before everyone had a phone and social media and all of that. So there was an innocence that was there between these characters. That was one of the things that I think people liked about the show, and so to put it into the setting of today's world, I don't know. We've often talked about it, and we kind of go back to, like, it was really special how it was, you know, and it's right there. So for now, we kind of just keep saying, like, I don't, until there's like a real reason, you know, to do it. It hasn't been something that anyone has said, like, no, this is the take on it, where we're all like, oh, right, you know.
Do you go back and watch the show, or do you go back and watch any of your older work?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes I go back and I'm like, because it's like memories are in every single shot. Like, oh my gosh, I remember that day, or that was so-and-so's birthday, or that's when it rained and we had to go and shoot something else. Sometimes I watch old movies to see if they hold up, and like if I'm like studying the director's work, because when I was doing it, I was just focused on me. Yeah, so I do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So since this is a Women in Motion talk, I wanted
Yes.
to ask, what is your best piece of advice for young women today?
Young women today.
Yes.
What is my best piece of advice for young women today? I think it's, I think it's important for young women today to really have a voice in all aspects of their life, and really go after what it is that they're interested in, and not worry if that will get them where they want to go yet. Just trust in the steps. I think we're in a very result-oriented society. And I think like for women, like just keep moving forward. That's it. And trust yourself, believe in yourself, be your biggest advocate. That's important.
When you started out in the 90s, it was a very different time in Hollywood, particularly for women. There wasn't as much protection over women, certainly young women, and I think now something really positive we're seeing is women embracing their own narrative. And we look back at that time and everybody, I think, realizes maybe what they did wrong, whether it's society or the media. When you look at the business today, do you feel more empowered by what you see?
I do feel more empowered, definitely. I mean, I think that, yeah, women are being rewarded for, like you said, owning their narrative, and I think that's very important. And and I think I want to see that continue. Yeah.
And what is one piece of advice that you, if you could go back, that you would have told yourself, your younger self?
I think probably just, I don't know. I think probably take the pressure off a little. I was because I was so young when I started, and it was a work, and I always wanted to do a good job, like I was saying, and I think that I'm not so sure putting the pressure on yourself really helps you. So I would say, like, ease up.
Yeah, but it'll all work out.
Enjoy it.
Clearly, it all worked out.
Well, thank you.
Yes. Now we have one question from social media that somebody sent in, so let me pull this up. All right. What are the things that you look for when making a movie?
The things that I look for when I'm making a movie, well, I want it to be an experience for the audience. So what I look for is something like, I really like to have a very saturated frame. I like color. I like warmth. I feel like that's very inviting to the eye, and it takes you, then you're really invested as the audience, and I want that connection. Actually, doing the play this year was, just this side note, was such a wonderful experience of connecting with the audience, having that pure experience. And it's like, it reminded me, yes, when you're making a film, even though you're far removed from the audience, you're doing it for them. And so creating that palette is important to me. And it also gives more space to the actors, right? And so I look for that visually, and really learn, how that camera is moving, and the motion of the film. Like, my taste right now is more like fluid, not a fixed camera. So I would say that, and then I also love like naturalistic, even though that's not necessarily a very saturated frame, but like in terms of dialogue, I like a lot of improv. I'm a huge John Cassavetes fan, so that's always kind of in the back of my mind, a goal.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Katie.
Thank you so much.
And congratulations on all the work
Thank
that
you.
you
Thank you all for being here. Oh my gosh, this is so amazing.